Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody. For those of you that are going to be watching live, really excited. This is the first time we have ever streamed live to YouTube at the same time as Facebook. So hopefully this works. If it doesn't, blame StreamYard. Don't blame me. But today's podcast for Money Talks, Love Listens is on finding happiness and really finding your heart. I truly believe that, I know we are who we are because of our brain, but I feel if we lead with our heart, it opens all the possibilities. So our guest today is Lauren Patterson. Hi.
Hi.
We're really excited to have you. And hi, Jim, my co-host.
Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm outstanding. Thank you.
Great. And back to you, Lauren. I want to talk about your background. And for those of you that are watching live and are going to be watching the replay, I never look somebody up intently before the show. So all my reactions are organic. I have a very expressible face. So whatever comes out, comes out. But Lauren, I would love to hear more about what you do and kind of your journey. I know that you have a book, a memoir, and how that came to be.
Yes, thank you for having me. I am a new author, so I just wrote my first book called Freeing Your Heart for Love. It released April last month. And I didn't know I always wanted to be an author, but after 29 years of trying to find self-love, I found it and I wrote a book about it. And I feel like I had to go to my why of why I want to write the book, and it was to inspire other people who are going through similar struggles that you can overcome anything you put your mindset to, because I was a negative person. I didn't believe in positive affirmations. I didn't believe in loving myself. And so I kind of carried that throughout my whole entire life, from the early age of 16 all the way up to I was 42, to where I transformed my life and I just turned it into something amazing. I'm going to be 49 this year, and I've never been the happiest I've ever been. I feel great. I have a great appreciation for life, even nature. So to come to this point in my life, it took me a long time with a lot of hard work and just working on myself and loving myself mostly. And so in a nutshell, that's kind of me. I do have 7 kids and 3 grandkids.
Wow. So congratulations on that.
I'm very blessed to have a small little tribe, a village.
Yeah.
But I didn't appreciate, like, all of that's in my story. I just didn't appreciate my children. I almost took my life in my 30s. And so I have a very inspirational story that I just have been sharing with the world. I'm on a lot of podcasts like yours. I'm starting a nonprofit to help people suffering from abuse and depression. So my mission is just to inspire people through my experiences and sharing my pain and my journey. And that's how I got to where I am today.
Well, we're so happy that you're here, and that's congratulations on the children and the grandkids. My mom's from a family of 10, so yeah, a lot of kids. Probably related to somebody at this point. But no, and I'm so happy that you overcame, obviously your struggles, and that you are here. Don't look a day over 29. No. I was like, no, she's not. I'm 49. Stop lying. I'm like, what moisturizer are you using?
I always tell people it's the fish oil. I take fish oil every day. I don't know.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to order like a whole bunch of that. I hope this isn't like the J-Lo thing where it's just like, use olive oil. That's not helping. But no, thank you for sharing such, a small piece of your story. That's very inspiring. And as you were talking, I was thinking of something that happened earlier today, and I'm not a road rage person. I don't usually get upset when I'm driving, but I start to notice more and more now people who are very upset. I'm in Florida, and Florida is like the king of accidents. I'm not talking about little accidents. I'm talking like you need the jaws of life, and there's no rain, there's no sun. I'm like, how do you have an accident? Like, what are you doing? And it's usually because people are rushing. People are so hurry. Like, I'm like, I don't know where you're going, but like they can wait. It's not that serious. And I've noticed that people, maybe it's the pandemic, maybe it's the area I'm in, but they seem to just, their essence have been really heightened, and people are more aggressive and more angry. Do you have advice for, I guess, people who maybe are more sensitive, in the world today, and like people are going out now more because the pandemic hopefully is trying to settle. I won't say dying out, but settle. And we're getting back to kind of, some normalcy, but yet a lot of people seem to be very frazzled. So what would you say for people who are, maybe they're interacting with these people, whether it's at work or maybe it's their spouse, maybe it's just somebody in their family? What would you give advice to someone like that?
That's a good question, because I see it too in Silicon Valley. Everybody in Silicon Valley, if you know California, they're always in a rush. Everybody's in a rush. Everybody wants to get somewhere, get out of my way, or I'm going to hit you. Even in the grocery store, I mean, you'll be shopping and it's like, why are you like trying to like push me out of the aisle? But I think it all goes back to, I always go back to mindset. It's what people are feeding their thoughts with. I don't watch the news for that specific reason, because it's so much negativity that I don't want to put my thoughts. I'm aware of what's happening in the world. Yeah. But I won't sit down and watch the news. I don't open up my Google search and search for the latest trending, whatever's going on in the world. I just focus on my meditation, my spirituality practice. I focus on what I want in my life. I'm going after my nonprofit. And I think it's all what people feed their mind and their thoughts with. People are, unfortunately, they're angry because of what's going on in the world. I mean, that's like the honest truth. Like, there's so much, like, I live in San Jose, and the BTA shootings, if you guys heard of that, those people, and mental health, like, I'm a mental health advocate because I suffered from it all my life. And I had nobody to help me. I had therapists, but therapists they just listen to you mostly. They'll offer their advice, but I had no support system. So I think, like, we as society, we need to look at mental health more. Like, instead of giving us medicine and trying to mask that, what's going on up here, because I honestly believe, like, the people who commit those kind of horrific crimes, what happened to them? So it's kind of like, even the people with the road rage, Southern California, that poor little boy that got shot because somebody had road rage. And it's like, people are just killing people for that, just because somebody cut you off. So now when people cut me off, go ahead, I let them go. Instead of getting mad, doing any kind of, that mom just did a hand gesture, pissed off that person. So my husband, he's a big, like, huge road rage person. I'm like, babe, just let them go. They're obviously more in a rush. Just let them go, because people have all these, there's so much going on. We never know what is going on behind closed doors. People are with their abusers, we just don't know. So I just always try to think of what's going on in their minds that's making them angry. And I just send people love. I try to send people love, because I think more people need love. It's like your show, Love Talk. More people need to love themselves, but more people need to share and spread love. That's what I think.
True. Very true. And since we are talking about love, I think that was a great kind of introduction question about kind of, hopefully people are creating spaces where they have support and self-love. A lot of people are looking, well, some people are. Some people are looking for love this summer. Some people might be looking for something else, but we're she knows what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a different show. But for those of the people that are looking for love, maybe for the second time around this summer, what kind of advice would you give for people who, like, you talk about having the self-love for yourself? There's a lot of people who say they're ready to love someone or ready to find someone, but it's like a disconnect. They haven't really worked on themselves. And as a matchmaker, I'm like, you need to go back and work on yourself. Like, don't come out here and be like, I'm ready to go out with someone. Like, no, you're not. Go back inside. Like, come back out when you're ready. And a lot of times people are like, what does that mean? And I'm like, well, if you're still talking about your ex, if you're still hung up over what happened in the past, If you have unrealistic expectations and think Chris Evans is going to walk through your door, he's not. Maybe someone's door, but not yours. Then, like go back and kind of work on yourself. So what would you tell someone, or, this is kind of geared more towards women over 30?
Well, okay, so as someone who went through 3 failed marriages, I know what it's like. Actually, multiple failed relationships, even the marriages. And I was always seeking for, like what you said, I was always seeking for love outside of myself. And the way I talked about myself and felt about myself, that's the kind of man I was attracting. So it was abusive men. It was men that just wanted me for my body. I would allow to be given. I gave my body to men and I didn't value myself at all. I didn't value my body until I met my 3rd husband, which was my rock bottom relationship. Like, I think we all need a relationship that's going to wake us up. And that relationship woke me up. Like, I was 42 and I married this guy, and I didn't know he had this illicit fantasy until after we married. And he wanted me to have sex with other men in front of him. And I'm not saying that lifestyle, if you like that lifestyle, but I didn't sign up for that lifestyle. But I felt like I already went through 2 failed marriages. I had 4 kids. And I was like, am I going to lose this guy too? I have to do what he tells me to do. So I was like operating out of fear. And I started going back to that severe suicidal depression. I wanted to take my life. And I said I was never going to do that. So I had to get away. So I built up the courage to just leave. I just left. I didn't leave the right way. I left while he was at work, but I knew that I wasn't strong enough to tell him that I don't want this for my life. So I had to leave him that way in order to gain the strength to transform my life and value myself. Like, that was the lesson the universe gave me, because I wasn't learning all the other lessons in the past. So it was like, okay, here's the big lesson that we're going to give you. You are going to value your body, whether you like it or not. And I did, because my body was not my own anymore. I didn't feel like I had a choice to have this intimacy with strangers. I mean, they were strange men, and I didn't even know their names because he was finding them. So it was just, it's a bad spot to be in if that's not the relationship you want. And it hits you on the head like a 2x4, because it's like, what is happening to me? We only were married for 6 months. It didn't last longer than a year. And it's just crazy. The text messages started coming, when I left him, like, oh my God, you just left me. How could you leave me that way? It's like, I don't want that lifestyle. Like, that's not for me. Fine for you, but not good for me. So yeah, I just had to you have to get clear on what you want, what kind of relationship you want. And that's what I really had to do. I started dating myself. You can date yourself.
Some people need to date themselves for a little bit. Like, I'm being honest, like, go out, have fun.
Yes.
Like you were saying, you don't want to end up in scenarios, and I'm glad that you're out of that scenario. No judgment to people who are in polyamorous. I know I'm messing it up, whatever the title is, but whatever floats your boat, as long as you're not hurting someone, or I don't really care. But if someone's unhappy or you are hurting them, then it's just wrong. So I'm glad that you're not in that and that you are happy. But since we are on the topic of divorces, and divorces cost a lot of money, this is my segue, Joe.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Well, Loren, thank you for sharing, your story. I mean, you've gone through a lot of trial and tribulation on that. I mean, you've gone through a lot more than a lot of people out there. So, I am on the financial side. I'm a financial advisor through THG. We do comprehensive planning, but I'm gonna go down two routes here. The first thing, when I read your bio, the first thing that popped in my head is that there are a lot of people that go through a lot of stressful things, whether it's personal, professional, or even financial, I guess. Mm-hmm. What are some, you've touched on a couple of them, but what are some tips you could give somebody to really power through when they're going through a tough time? Like, what are some things that you would recommend someone do to get through it all?
Well, the first thing that I did was just start practicing positive affirmations. Every morning I woke up, I started reading positive quotes, changing my mindset every morning. First thing I did before I even stepped out of bed was just pull up a positive quote on my phone and condition my mind to see the positive in everything. And I think the first 30 minutes of when you wake up is really how it sets your day. So, now I practice meditation. So every morning I do meditation, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, to be in that stillness. That helps me stay grounded and positive. And so I think for me, that's the biggest tip I have, like the first step, because that's the easiest, is to just try to start practicing those positive affirmations. Write them down if you have to. I used to put it on my bathroom mirror because you always brush your teeth every morning. Right. So every morning it was right there. And I didn't believe it at first. So a friend told me about it. But as I started doing it continuously every single day, I saw the changes in my life. Like the changes just start happening. So that's the tip that I have.
That's great. Now, where do you get those positive affirmations?
So I followed a person named Louise Hay. She passed away, but Hay House is a huge traditional publisher. I want to be a publisher. I want to be a published author with them one day. But they have a lot of resources because they're all about self-help. So, if it's angel cards that really help you, or I pull angel cards now. There's like Gabby Bernstein is another person I follow. But just people who are spreading that positivity. Like I even get something called the Daily Sip Tip by a lady named Maria. And
so what's that called?
Daily Sip Tip. So it's literally like a 3-minute. She texts me. It comes into my text. You sign up for it. It's a subscription. And she has this daily sip tip every day. And she has something positive to say every day. And it literally is 3 minutes. And I listen to it religiously after my meditation. I just pour my cup of coffee and just sit there for 3 minutes and just listen to what she has to say.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there. But I always go back to Hay House because Hay House is something that has helped me with my life.
Yeah. And I also noticed in your profile, you have a business background. You have some, starting your business and, the business from your academics. Do you have any advice you give folks that come to you or you talk to about how to become a little more independent or how to really get out of that funk?
Yeah. So I've been independent pretty much all my life, but, to be honest, your financial advisor, I actually had to file bankruptcy several times because I wasn't taught how to manage money. So the whole money mindset thing, like that's a struggle for me, which still is challenging today. But I was always taught as a kid not to, that we don't have enough. So I try to practice my mindset that I will always have enough. And, I work really hard. I do a lot of philanthropist work because I love to give back. I have a day job, but my author and my nonprofit is my side thing. And so I have like a regular income. Yeah. But I think for people that don't have that, and they're trying to make this their business, I think if you come from a place of helping people, then the money will just come, because I find that very helpful. Like even my book sales, I'm gifting my books, but I'm also selling my books. I gifted 2 books the other day and I got 2 book sales that day. So, that whole reciprocity, like it's the universe. It just works for you.
Yeah. Everything comes back tenfold when you do that. With my business, I do a lot of philanthropic type work. And one of the reasons I'm here is to help people. And, when I started doing that, instead of chasing money, I chased a career to help people make smarter decisions with their money. And then like you, it just exploded. So that's interesting. It's interesting. But for anyone that has any questions or concerns about how to become a little more independent financially, there are some excellent strategies on how to do that. A lot of times when I come across clientele, when they may be a little nervous or stressed, or they feel like they're not in control in a relationship, the love part, Gwen will handle that stuff. But the financial stuff, I'll come in to make sure that they're independent, so they can have, they can make smarter decisions with their money without using, or if someone is over them holding that over their heads, they don't have to do that anymore. It's a pretty interesting process.
Yeah. I had husbands who would take my mom took my paychecks when I was younger, when I was working as 16. And then I married the first husband who took all my checks. So I wasn't able to ever get money. And so now what I do, because I had, when I would I spent so much money. That's how it got me into trouble, because I finally had that freedom to spend whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And now when I go shopping, I don't need anything. I have so many clothes and shoes. I pick it up, walk around the store, and I ask myself continuously, do I really need this? Do I really need this? I end up putting it down. I don't buy it. But I have this behavior where I have to go buy something. I have to go buy new shoes. I have to go buy, it's like this thing that I have to work on. So.
Well, that's kind of normal. I mean, most of us are spenders. What you have to do is implement some strategies to budget for that. I mean, it's the same concept of, here's an allocation of money to go out and you spend the money, but make sure you don't spend anything over that, because the rest of that's for, food and bills and et cetera, et cetera. So, but that's interesting. Well, that's too bad. I mean, that's a tough experience to have. You had less control than the average person with their income. So, I mean, for the only tip I would say for anyone in your shoes is set up a budget and make sure you have a good investment advisor to help you strategize what to do with all that.
Mm-hmm. All I can say about money in terms of this conversation is I heard someone say, it was based on for women, that even if you're married, you should always have a separate account. I don't know if this is correct or not. I was married one time before getting married another time, hopefully soon. But I will always have a separate bank account. Like, that was discussed in the relationship early on. Like, he was like, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. I'm like, no. No, that's not how it works. But just because of the fact that money obviously can be control, people get very funny with money, no matter how big or small. Sometimes, even if it's small, people can use it as a control. But it was something I was listening to, and they were like, yeah, women should always have, no matter how much your spouse is making or what he's doing, you should always have your own. So find a way to do that, no matter how that is, even if it's in secret. If it's in secret, then probably get out of the relationship.
Right. I'm comfortable with that. I mean, I know a lot of people that I work with that have separate investment accounts. They have some joint bank accounts, separate bank accounts, as long as they're all, the communication's even and everything's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, don't hide things. But like, I have $5 billion in a bank account in Switzerland that I'm just not going to tell you about.
Wait a minute. I think we have to talk then. No, but that's true. I mean, it's fine to have those kinds of things as long as everyone's comfortable with that.
Yeah. So, Lauren, what would you say for a woman that kind of has healed, as you have on your journey of healing, and they are really kind of in a ready position, but I see a lot of times women they've done the process of healing, they've done kind of the work to get ready for a new relationship, but then there's like a block, or something is telling them it's self-doubt. It's not going to work out like it didn't before, and then they sabotage it, and then they go see, and I'm like, no, that's because you sabotaged the whole scenario. Like, you didn't give the person a chance.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice for someone like that? Because I feel your story is actually probably is very similar to a lot of women, I think, unfortunately, who've dealt with, I just call it real life, and pain, that a lot of women have experienced in our lives. And the older you get, you have more experiences. So what would you say to a woman that's in that predicament?
I was in that position when I found my husband now. So I truly believe, a psychic actually told me I was going to meet my husband now. So that's in my book too. But
like, what's her name? I really need to talk there.
Yeah, everybody wants to. I don't even be honest. I don't remember. It was 2017. I don't even remember her name. I don't even think she does it anymore. I only saw a psychic one time in my life, and that was the one time when I met my husband.
Wow.
He helped clean out my heart chakra. Do you know anything about chakras?
Yeah.
And that's when I met him. But she told me who he was. She told me he had a daughter. She was very specific. He loves you unconditionally. He loves your children. No man has ever loved my children like my husband does. It was amazing. We met in 2017 and married in 2019, and he's the best. He's truly the man that I was supposed to be with. But on that note, I didn't trust him because, to be honest, he should have ran for the hills because he came after all those bad relationships. But the different thing about him is he accepted me for who I was. I was never going to tell him about the third marriage. I was really embarrassed and ashamed. But when he asked me to marry him, I was like, I don't want to build a foundation on dishonesty. So I told him in a Safeway parking lot, and he just held me. And that's when I knew he was the one for me. He didn't judge me. He wiped my tears away and he said, that was your past. That's not who you are today. Along with all these other things he's done for me. But the trust, that was the biggest thing for me. Like, I was dating, I met him on Tinder, which, by the way, Tinder has a bad rep. So, I met a lot of guys who just wanted the sexual relationship. And I was like, no, that's not for me. I would cut him off faster. So instead of going for that next guy and being like, okay, he's the one I'm going to be with, I would just move on. I'm like, okay, I'm moving on. Because I was clear in my mind who I wanted in my life. And I wasn't going to settle for anything else. Even when I met my husband, I had questions for him, like specific questions. And he answered them all. So he passed. But, I was just done with the dating. I mean, I met him at 45. I was like, I don't want to date anymore. And if I was going to die alone, I was fine. But I wasn't going to settle. So that was the one thing that I think changed for me. I wasn't settling. I wasn't meeting somebody and being like, okay, I'm going to change him. I'm not here to change you. You're not going to change. You are who you are. So I'm moving on. So I think that was the shift for me in the dating scene was I'm not just settling. I know what I want and you're not what I want. So bye. So that's the advice I have.
That's great advice. I think more women need to hear that. I have an expression: you can't change a Kia into a Maserati. Like it's still a Kia. You can't. Nothing you do to that Kia is gonna change a Maserati. You can't actually buy the Maserati.
Well, it's nice to have Jim here and talk about this because most of these interviews I don't usually talk in front of a man, So it's
Jim's great. He's like, I've heard everything.
Yeah, most things. Yeah. Hey, that's a great story though. That's a great way to circle back on your positivity. I think that's great. I'm really happy for you. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You like happy endings.
Those men, I was there. I made the decisions. I don't blame all those men for what happened to me. I was there. I chose to stay. So we all have choices. We have choices in life, and you choose your life. And I chose my life, but I chose it, and I knew I had to write the book to help somebody. So that was probably why I went through all those experiences.
Exactly.
There you go.
And with that, Lauren, I know you have the book to share. So where can people find your book, find you? Now's your chance to promote anything you would like to promote.
Thank you. So it's on laurenpatterson.com. We also have a show, Knowledge to Inspire. If you two would like to ever join us there, we'd love to have you guys as guests. And then we're in Clubhouse now. So Clubhouse is the place to be, obviously. But we have a room in there called Women Share All. So we have a club, and we just started it on the fly. But if you're not in Clubhouse, it's very supportive. Like as far as the women community, there's so much support in there. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to share. But thanks for having me. This is fun.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And before we close out, Jim, do you have any final thoughts or anything you would like to say?
I mean, I'll say this was great. Thank you for sharing your story, and I really enjoyed hearing your message. I mean, the only thing I would say, parlaying on what we said, is if anyone has any questions about how to budget their plans or set up any plannings to become independent, please let me know, because I would love to make sure we can give back and give someone a better runway to make their lives easier and better.
Perfect. And for those of you that are single and you are in Tampa area, or the Tampa Bay area, I should be more specific with that, we are starting in-person events very soon, actually in July. Really excited to go back to seeing people in person. So that will start in July 15th at a bar called Jimmy's. We're really excited about that. And as always, we still continue all of our virtual events for those of you that are either in Georgia, Florida, now Alabama, because it's a cousin. And that's every third Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you want any information on that, or you would actually like to become a matchmaking client and are in any of those regions, just make sure to message me on either Facebook or Instagram, or send a message on our new beautiful site that we're really excited about at mylovetalk.com.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us and sharing your story. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Take care.